From the depths of the vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live, your number one stream for the uncanny, the weird, and yes, the unexplained. Good evening, everybody. Good morning. You know the score. Wherever you are, whatever time it happens to be, welcome to the show. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie. We will, of course, be opening up the phone lines shortly, so if you want to be on the show, I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. But let's begin with a shout out to my gorgeous, lovely patrons. We've got Baroque Lobster, Buster Piles, Catman, Todd Van Voris, Farson's Finest, John Douglas, Greg Russell, Gaynor Smith, E.J. Osborne, Emu Cat, Pamela Peffer, Andrew Dewey, Keith Say, Pill Collins, not Phil, Pill Collins, Rudolph Hooker, yes, Ryan, Craig McClellan, Zach T, Sawboss, Gregory, Amanda McNeil, Natalie Leach, Chris Slee, Heather Maund Jones, Melv, Aaron Osborne, Steadbot, Ginger Ninja, Ben Hale, Vincent Hegeland, Ironbug, Paul Redruth, Baby with a Laser, and Bizjdish 143. Hello, all of you, and hello to everybody in the chat as well. We've got Johnny A, who says, good evening, Eerie. Good evening, Johnny. Welcome to the show. Jamie White is there. Good evening, Jamie. Theme Queen UK says, good evening. Good evening to you, Theme Queen. Darren Jump is with us. Good evening, Darren. Farson's Finest says, oi, oi. Yes. Oi, oi, back at you. William Kane is here. Good evening, William. Buster Piles, International Man of Mysterious Underpants, is with us as well. Who else have we got? Let's take a quick look. Tools. Hello, Tools. Another spooky evening indeed. That's right. Liz is with us. Hi, Eerie and everyone. Eerie, do you have any Halloween plans for the channel? I do. Whether they will come to fruition or not is another matter, isn't it? But I do have thoughts, let's say. Jan says, hi, Eerie and all. Good evening, Jan. And Paul Williams and Pill Collins. Good evening, all of you. Purple Pipkin says, good evening, and good evening to you too. Welcome, everyone. Alison's with us. Aching Plums. Emma is also with us. Good evening, Emma. Have I said Paul already? If I haven't, good evening, Paul. And Matt J is here. It's a new name. Hello, Matt. Welcome, everybody, to the stream, as it were, or the show, as I like to refer to it. It's the show, isn't it? Here's some eerie news. Yes, so the warp drive seems to be going from science fiction to a theoretical reality. So this is from the National Geographic. And for decades, physicists dismissed the concept of a warp drive as pure fantasy, a staple of science fiction without any basis in physical law. But new research is bringing the idea closer to theoretical plausibility. The warp drive concept, popularized, of course, by Star Trek, involves compressing space ahead of a craft and expanding it behind, effectively moving space itself rather than propelling a vessel faster than light. This method would not technically violate Einstein's theory of relativity, which forbids objects with mass from exceeding the speed of light. In 1994, physicist Miguel Alcubierre proposed the first mathematical model for such a drive, known as the Alcubierre metric. Why not name it after yourself, Miguel? That's what I say. The design required immense amounts of what was termed negative energy, an exotic and unverified form of matter, and an energy output comparable to that of a star, which rendered it pretty much physically unworkable. More recent theoretical advances have challenged those early assumptions, and in 2021, researchers Alexei Bobrik and Gianni Martia introduced a new warp model that eliminates the need for the negative energy element. Their model encloses the passenger region inside a curved shell of what's referred to as space-time distortion, creating what they call a physical warp drive. It's theoretical, which means it's theoretically possible using known physics, but we're not going to be jumping into a bus that can go warp speed down Camden Road or something like that, are we? It still requires extraordinary energy, roughly equivalent to the mass of a planet or something bigger, and it remains limited to subluminal speeds, which is slower than light speeds. So in essence, this gets more disappointing the more you read it, doesn't it? Key engineering challenges include how to accelerate or decelerate a warp bubble safely, how to control its direction, or prevent destructive gravitational effects when the bubble collapses. Some theorists suggest such bubbles, if they existed, might produce detectable gravitational wave signatures. And despite these barriers, warp drive research has entered legitimate scientific discourse. Once confined to fiction, it now stands as a speculative but mathematically consistent branch of theoretical physics. I wonder if in our lifetimes we will see faster than light travel. I imagine it would be an unbearable thing to take part in, never mind witness. It would be convenient, wouldn't it? But it would change the nature of existence, I think. You know, it's one thing to get from, to fly from the UK to Japan quickly, isn't it? That'd be cool if you could do that in an hour. But faster than light, you'd already be there, and you also wouldn't be there, and also Japan would be there but wouldn't be there, and how would you find your hotel room? That's my main question. Evolution of intelligence may have had a genetic cost, according to the New Scientist magazine. New research suggests that the genetic changes tied to increasing intelligence in our ancestors might have also introduced vulnerabilities to mental health disorders. By tracing when various genomic variants first appeared over millions of years of human evolution, scientists identified correlations, and we always have to be careful not to confuse that with causation, correlations between genes associated with cognition and genes linked to psychiatric conditions. Variants emerging in key intervals, such as with Homo habilis and later Homo sapiens, coincide with increases in neural complexity. Many of the same genetic regions show overlap with traits implicated in disorders such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, depression, and general neurodevelopmental risk. This finding hints at a trade-off. As brains became more capable, they may have also become more fragile. The study doesn't establish direct causation, and the authors do stress that the associations are weak and probabilistic rather than deterministic. Still, this work adds weight to the long-standing hypothesis that cognitive gains may come with hidden costs in genetic stability and susceptibility. If you think about the Greys, if we are, or if they are our descendants, then if it's us in the future, look at how their bodies have become frail and small, but their heads become bigger. Maybe mental capacity means you become a little bony weakling. Who knows? A newly discovered Triassic theropod has been, well, newly discovered. This is from Sci.News, Paleontologists have identified a new genus and species. I'm not sure the difference there. An intelligent person out there might have to explain that to me. Perhaps you can call later and explain the difference between a genus and a species. That'd be a cool conversation. A new genus and species of theropod dinosaurs. Antiavis crurilongus from the late Triassic period in Argentina. Isn't Argentina quite a hotbed for fossils, isn't it? The fossils, a partial skeleton and skull, were recovered from the Ishigualasto Formation, Ishigualasto Formation in northwest Argentina, in deposits dating back to the Carnian Age, which is about 231 to 226 million years ago. This Antiavis crurilongus was modest in size, estimated to be about 4 foot. That's about 1.2 meters for people who don't do feet and inches, in length, with a body mass roughly of 8 to 9 kilograms. Phylogenetically, it is placed as an early diverging theropod, falling outside the dinosaur subgroup Neotheropoda. Okay. However, it shows derived anatomical traits previously thought to be confined more to advanced theropods. Advanced theropods. The discovery sheds light on the early radiation of dinosaurs and suggests that even at this primitive stage, theropods were experimenting with features that would later define their success. Makes it sound like they were doing it on purpose, doesn't it? A full description is in Nature, Ecology and Evolution magazine, which was published online on the 14th of October this month. It was, yes. And ancient microbes, I'm having trouble speaking tonight. Ancient microbes sleeping in the Arctic for 40,000 years are now awakening. Yes, researchers have revived microbes that lay dormant in Arctic permafrost for up to 40,000 years. This study, published by JGR Biogeosciences, sampled deep permafrost at the Permafrost Tunnel Research Facility in central Alaska and subjected these samples to warmer conditions, mimicking future climate warning. There's a joke about Alaska, isn't there? It's, hello, is your wife back from holiday? Yes, she is. She had a great time. Where did she go? Alaska. Why, don't you know? That's not the joke. I did it wrong. But, you know, you can put a lol in chat if you like, because old Eerie tried his best there. The microbes were sluggish at first. I would be sluggish if I'd been frozen for 40,000 years. They were replacing only about 1 in 100,000 cells per day, but by 6 months in, they had restructured and formed visible biofilms, which means they achieved metabolic activity comparable to modern microbes. When active, these microbes begin decomposing organic matter, and they emit carbon dioxide and methane. So these microbes are farting, aren't they? Greenhouse gases that can further intensify global warming. The researchers warn that as Arctic temperatures rise, the warmer seasons penetrate deeper layers of permafrost. There was no foresight when they named permafrost, was there? Because it's not very perma by the sounds of it, this stuff. Previously frozen microbes could become significant sources, therefore, of greenhouse gases. Yes. We don't want any more of those, do we? Do you remember CFCs? I think they've vanished. I remember all the fuss about CFCs. I really do. Who else do we have in the chat here? We have Milia Z1 to 28, who says, hi, chat and Eerie. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Do we have anybody new that I haven't noticed? If I don't call you out, I apologise. The chat moves particularly quickly. Paul wants to know, is the Bigfoot something like Homo erectus that has evolved and adapted? I do think, now you've got me on my topic there, because Bigfoot really is, it's my thing, you know. And I think it is probably a relict species. Not Homo erectus more something like Sahelanthropus, or that one of the Anthropus models, if you will. They're rather more big-boned, and Sahelanthropus, isn't that the robot of Metal Gear Solid 5? Have I made that up? There's an Anthropus. Somebody tell me what it is. I think it's an Anthropus anyway. Farson's Finest says, I prescribed to the Bigfoot is the Grey's pet dog they let out for walkies when they are about in their saucers. Yes, there are tales of that, aren't there? That these creatures that are Bigfoots, well, it's Chewbacca, isn't it, essentially? Does everybody remember the Melba Ketchum study? I don't know if any of you saw that. The Melba Ketchum study, where she did a DNA study that showed that the DNA of Bigfoot was largely human. It was, of course, derided as, well, you've got contaminated samples then. However, they did get video footage, and I forget, was it somebody Erickson, who got footage of sleeping Bigfoots, and I thought, oh, goodness me, how exciting. It looked just like a Chewbacca mask when you saw it. I hope you guys have seen it. If you haven't, just look for Chewbacca Bigfoot. I'm sure it'll come up. Australopithecus, that's the one. Yes, Australopithecus. I think it's or maybe the Boisier. Oh gosh, you've got me now. I said it's my subject and I've forgotten it. But yes, I think it is. I think Bigfoot's, rather than being an ape, as it were, I think it's a human, but an early human. In my sort of non-expert opinion. But it could be, couldn't it? It could well be. Particularly the way it's described sometimes. Eerie, have you been at a sherry? I haven't. Do I sound a little drunk? I think it's tiredness and age that's getting to me. Mm-hmm. The Seeds of Death. What's this? The Seeds of Death. I deleted my... Oh, yes, it says 2 messages retracted there. I'm not deleting messages. Just FYI, YouTube does that on its own. Viason's Finest says, have you seen that video about the Caucasus mountain range, precursor humans who was knocking boots with Neanderthals much earlier than people realised? I don't think I have. Precursor humans knocking boots with... I like the way Farson's Finest phrases things, I have to say. Knocking boots with Neanderthals much earlier than people realised. Dennis Ovens, is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about crossbreeding of previous old human species? Because that's interesting. The DNA test came back as male as primate, female unknown. Actually, yes, you're right there. Yes, the female was unknown. But I think it was very close to human, wasn't it? And there's a lot of to and fro about, well, you had a contaminated sample then. And what a frustration that would be. What a frustration if you were getting DNA. The whole DNA thing, you can only come back with unknown for something new, can't you? Because surely you must have sequenced the genome. I'm not an expert in this. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but there must be sequenced genomes, or there must be, comparable data to compare the sample data to. And if the sample data is of something that is not in the database to be compared to, then surely the best we can hope for is that it's unknown rather than... But then again, if it is human, and the Bigfoot is human, and the DNA shows that it's human, then it just comes back as human, and you don't find anything else out, do you? She was treated very poorly by the scientific community. She was. I was very invested in that entire study at the time. And I remember watching lots of interviews with her, and she, it's it's not understandable, but it's expected, isn't it, that that's the kind of treatment that she would get, unfortunately, because you just know, whether it's gatekeeping or ignorance or just pure disbelief, the subject is still not really getting the professional attention it deserves, is it? Maybe some more than others. It says, Pill, 4% of human DNA is thought to be Neanderthal. Yes, indeed. There's a Chinese dragon man. What? What is this? There is a Chinese... Come on, Buster, now. Tell me all about this. Chinese dragon man. And, of course, the little wee Flores Island hobbits. Yes, it's amazing how many human-type species have been around until recently. And, yes, we lost Jane Goodall, didn't we? Not so long ago. You know, we're all... as much as you hate to say it, we're all getting older, you know. I mean, Jeff Meldrum's gone now. Jane Goodall's gone now. For goodness sake, Hulk Hogan's died. Hulk Hogan's dead, everybody. I mean, what? What? We just keep getting older, don't we? The name they gave the skeleton in China, he had a huge head. Was he Scottish? The Dragon Man. I haven't seen that. Gosh, I'll have to look that up. It's amazing how many human species were around, and we made it, or did we, by outer interest? Well, Blazer, yes. It's another one of my sort of favourite theories is that human DNA was tinkered with at some point, and we became what we are by intervention rather than natural selection, as it were. And if that's the case, then we can blame them for, according to the earlier news articles, we can blame them for our increases in psychiatric issues with people as well, according to that news article from the beginning. Jamie says, I know you love a good cryptid book rather, so have you read The Search for Morag? I have not. That is one on me, and that's going on my... Listen to this. That's the sound of a pen clicking. I'm writing it down right now. The Search for Morag. Now, is that the Cornish one? I think it is, isn't it? No, that's Morgower, isn't it? The Cornish one. Morag must be the Lochmorra monster, is that right? Showing my lack of intelligence there, if I'm not careful. Michael Plunkett, hello. Welcome to the show. Yes, you know, it's the usual rules of the road tonight, which I'll get to in a minute. But, you know, I really, really want to talk about Bigfoot with somebody tonight. That's what I really want to... well, I'm going to welcome all your stuff, you know. Welcome if you've got stories, things that have happened to you, you know. But I'd really love to talk to somebody about Bigfoot. And don't forget, it doesn't have to be something that's happened to you to talk about it, you know. It's just ringing up, having a chat with old Eerie, and letting the guys at home listen intently. And they're all very supportive as well. So don't be frightened to call, of course. Because the Bigfoot thing is obviously my pet thing, isn't it? I'm going to say thing a lot. My lexicon seems to have shrunk over the week. But I love the alien stuff as well, and I love the ghosts and the hauntings. And when I say love it, I'm interested in it. You know, I do find things fascinating. But you know, a curious side effect of running this channel. Hello, Fleur. Welcome. A curious side effect of running this channel is that I used to watch channels like mine quite a bit, you know. I watch bedtime stories quite a lot. Goodness, they get so many views. It's incredible. But yes, I used to watch bedtime stories a lot. You know, I used to be, really fascinated by the next one and the next one and the next one. And now researching them and writing them and scripting them and narrating them, editing them, I am finding that I am not as awestruck by events that I'm reading about anymore, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that's sad or not. Buster wants to know my opinion on Albert Ostman. Goodness me. Well, for a start, Albert Ostman's story is incredible. And, you know, I've got to the point now where if I buy a new book about Bigfoot, you can put London to a brick. You can bet London to a brick that that story's going to be in there. And you just think, really, again? And I skip it, generally, now. However, Albert Ostman was at, I believe it was Toba Inlet, and he was alone at Toba Inlet. I don't know if he'd gone camping or fishing or whatever, on his own, and he took with him, I think he was in a tent, and he had, notably, a can of coffee grounds, and he took snuff, so he had snuff, the stuff that you shove up your nose, or chewed it, one of the two. And he went roughing it, essentially. He had food as well, of course. And long story short, he went to bed one night, and he woke up inside a bag, and was being, what he assumed, carried somewhere. The motion of the bag, and essentially he was being abducted, let's say. And when he arrived at his destination, yes, Tony, a little desensitized perhaps. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. When he arrived at his destination, he was confronted by not a Bigfoot, but a family of Bigfoot, big feet. One that was the mother that I think he called the old girl, and the old man, who was the father, and there was a son and a daughter, apparently. And I'm sure he's considered that they were kidnapping him in order to, I don't know, like marry the daughter or something like that. Anyway, he was there for days, and began to, and I think he was in a cave with them, and you know, then I think what happened was the old man took a big chunk of this snuff and ate it, and just got absolutely sick with it. And then he tried to wash it down with this can of coffee grounds, which made him even worse. In that confusion and delirium, then off he went. Albert did a runner, and he ran back, goodness knows how far it was, miles and miles and miles, ran back to Toba Inlet. And, you know, this is very high-level story. So that's the story. What's my opinion of it? Well, it's hard to give an opinion, isn't it, on something that somebody says happened and you weren't there. A lot of stock is put into the fact that, and I believe John Green and Renee DeHinden interviewed Ostman several times, looking for chinks in the armour, as it were, found none, and a lot of stock therefore is put into the fact that his story never changed, that it must have been true. I don't know why you'd make something like that up. However, his description, particularly of the sort of mother, let's say, seems very different to general descriptions of Sasquatch / Bigfoot, as it were. But then we don't know what sort of dimorphism or diversity there is in the species, because we don't know if it is a species. So to me, my opinion of that one, it is an interesting anecdote to me, and a key piece of Bigfoot history, let's say, or rather Sasquatch, let's say. Yes, Fastens, I think she was, yes. which made her waddle a little bit. We'll be right back in a moment. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's right, it certainly is. So there's your instructions, that's how to do it. And I want to talk Bigfoot tonight, you guys. That's what I want to talk tonight. Yes, you've given me the taste for it now. I'd love to talk to somebody about Bigfoot, yes. Jan says no one's ever really explained the famous Bigfoot video, have they? The one where it's turning and looking. Yes, that's the Patterson-Gimlin film from Bluff Creek in California, which was published in Argosy magazine. 1968, was it? It's up here on the wall. Just one second. Oh, it just says February 50 cents. I think it was 68. And, well, several people have explained it, however, in different ways. Bill Munns, who has been quoted, I think Blazer quoted Bill Munns at me there. Yes, that's right. The chat's moving very fast. So, yes, Bill Munns, who is a film and special effects guru, essentially. I believe he did like a Swamp Thing and... lots of other very, very high-profile creature creations and costuming, let's say, or rather makeup, I think he would have said. Not only that, he was, I think they call it photogrammetry. So Bill Munns was able to recreate a three-dimensional plot of the Bluff Creek film site. He's analyzed, costume techniques and fabrics and human muscle group movement and, head shape and size and all of those things. And his conclusion is that it is absolutely real. There was a chap called Leroy Blevins, I think, who attempted to recreate the suit, because of course the suit has never ever been produced, has it? I think Philip Morris, I think it was Philip Morris, who claimed he was a costume salesman, or he owned a costume outlet and he sold gorilla costumes and things like that, and he claimed he sold Roger Patterson the costume, and then Patterson changed it with a bit of a different face or whatever. And, well, Leroy Blevins attempted to recreate this costume, and it looked ridiculous, frankly. Chris Packham as well did a similar recreation, and it was absolutely asinine, to use a Hank Hill phrase. It was utter garbage, the result. So there have been several attempts to sort of explain the film in great detail with, scientific measurements of what the shutter speed would have been, or the the film speed, what the height of the subject is, and the distance from the lens, and what sort of lens it was, all those factors. And because there is some conjecture over what shutter speed the camera was set to. I don't know if shutter speed is the right word, but I think there was something like 16 frames a second, 18 or 24, something like that. I might not be exact there. And it transpires that at one of those speeds, it could well easily have been a human walking in that fashion, but at the other two speeds, no chance, because it would have been too hard for a person to have replicated that gait. I don't think it'll ever be, proved one way or another. Maybe when Bob Gimlin passes away, we might get some startling deathbed confession. However, when you watch that film, when you watch it, and it is, yes, it's grainy, yes, it's blurry, but there are better versions of the film out there now. It's not like the 90s where all we had was this grainy version of it. Other versions have been found. I think scans have been done of the original footage, which I believe Bill Munns did get hold of, because there was a whole chain of custody with the footage. So I believe at one point, Rennie de Hinden grabbed the copyright to the footage at one point, or perhaps the still images. I think John Green might have had copyright. Patricia Patterson had copyright, naturally, Roger Patterson's wife. And, all of that chain of custody meant that versions of the film were lost. There is supposedly a second reel as well, which I don't know if that's been found or not. However, when you watch let's call them the enhanced versions of this Patterson Gimlin film, of which there are countless now on the old YouTubes, there are two aspects to I'm calling it a creature. Now, it looks massive, right? It looks massive to begin with. It looks immense. And yes, the gait is human-like, but the creature is human-like. It's the same shape. However, it does lift its knee a heck of a lot higher, and it's at a different angle than a human would, and there is a sort of twist in the knee and the hip, and the knees are almost always bent. It walks like a cross-country skier in many ways. But there's two aspects, and these two aspects keep me swinging wildly from it's real and it's fake. Okay, so the it's real aspect is there's a frame where the foot touches down on the ground and the toes flex, and then you can see them contract. Now that, and I've got the footprints on the wall here as well, that are supposedly from the same site, which Jeff Meldrum sent to me. When you see that foot flex and grab, you think, well, that's it. That's case closed. That is case closed. Instantly. But then you see its backside. Now, I haven't spent a lot of time looking at the backsides of apes. I have spent some time looking at gorillas' bottoms in comparison, attempting to understand this, but not a lot of time. It's not something I search for on the internet very often, let's say. However, I've been to zoos and I've tried to look at, gorillas, because that's the closest thing I can imagine. Its bum looks a bit fake. So it's got a fake bum, but a real-looking foot, and those two things keep me alternating between absolute acceptance and disbelief. That actually reminds me of a phrase. Now, what's the book? It's behind me here. I think it's just called Bigfoot. Just 1 minute. Yes, there it is. It's called Bigfoot, creatively, and it's John Napier. Dr. John Napier, that is, who did a very, very thorough, scientific, absolutely, neutral standpoint on the thing. Examined the feet, the gait, lots of very high-level sort of calculations and tables and angles of limb measurements and foot strike timings and things like that. And really, in this book, which spans, goodness me, some 225 pages, his conclusion at the end is that he oscillates wildly between absolute acceptance based on his factual findings and complete rejection of the idea just because it shouldn't be possible. And that's where he left it. And that's really where I am in a lot of this. I oscillate between those two states, as it were. But I would love for it to be real. I would so love, and I think we all would, wouldn't we? It'd be cool. But what would it bring with it? What would it bring to the table? Because if it's a human, then it would have human rights. By law, it would have human rights. And we wouldn't be able to call it it. It would be Mr. It, wouldn't it? It would have human rights, which means, well, it has many implications, doesn't it? There would be certainly conservation activities and concerns around the creature, let's say. But what if it's of a kind of human that is not civilized, let's say? What if it's a kind of human that is animalistic? And that gives us other implications of, well, are we protecting an animal, or have we just stumbled across something that, well, it might attack us? Might it come for us? And I'm quite sure that, we with our guns and our things like that should probably be able to overpower such a thing. But the implications of it being real are immense. And then there are other larger sort of conceptual concerns of, it'll change the view of religion, it'll change the view of evolution, and I don't think it would. I don't think it would particularly. If you are dogmatic enough about something, when a challenge to that dogma is presented, you can easily fit it into your paradigm. I don't think it would be such a destructive discovery for the, let's say, theological or philosophical world. But it would really be quite the challenge for just the conservation and the human rights aspect, I just want to see one, not up close. On TV will do. But I think now, as we approach this AI age, you're just going to get millions and millions of fakes. There is actually a really funny, I think it's done with a program called Sora, potentially, Sasquatch camping adventures or something, and it's Sasquatch with a phone camera, and he's like, hey guys, I'm in the forest and Nessie's here, you know, and oh, you've got to find it. It is funny, I have to say. It is funny. But yes, what if the Sasquatch was to sign on at the job centre? There you go. Yeah. Quite. And if they are families, then do they get family allowances? Do they get houses? Would they get medical care? Would they get benefits? Would they need them? I mean, they're doing well without them now. Would they end up watching television and getting fat like I did? They might. They quite might. Who knows? So yes, that's the Bigfoot scenario, isn't it? And of course, it's cousins and, you know, it's, let's say, relatives. So the Almasty of Russia and the Yeti of the Himalaya, the Yeren of China, the Hibagon rather, of Japan. It's apparently in the forested areas of Japan, Hiroshima sort of area. There is the Hibagon, which is also it's a Japanese Bigfoot, essentially. I think they have similar. What's the Mapinguari? That's another one somewhere, isn't it? It's like many countries have this ape man. The Yowie, of course, in Australia. I was in Australia several years ago, and I excitedly took what turned into a 3-hour trip on the train through the Blue Mountains, through Sydney, up through the Blue Mountains, to a place called, oh goodness me, where did I go? I can't remember where the place was called that I went to. It'll be something like Wubinga or Wullabulla. It'll sound like that, won't it? But yeah, it was about 3 hours away, and it's where Rex Gilroy used to have a sort of museum. Now, Rex Gilroy is probably the most famous Yowie, let's say, hunter in Australia, and he had a museum. Goodness me, I've forgotten the exact town or village it was in. That's bad of me, isn't it? But it was in the Blue Mountains anyway. Except it wasn't. After this 3-hour train ride, it had gone, and it was an estate agent or it was a chip shop. There was something that, and I went in asking for Rex Gilroy, and they knew him, you know, and they said, oh, he lives here, there, wherever. But we had to get back to meet somebody else, actually, which put the kibosh on us finding old Rex, because I actually went to try and talk to him about his collection. What's the Gary Opick as well? Gary Opit, rather. He's a researcher into the Yowie. What's the one in New Zealand called? The Moihau or something in New Zealand. They're all over the place. All over. Yes, the Grey Man of Ben Macdouey, says Anne. Good evening, Anne. That's an odd one, isn't it? That's a different one. That's often described as a tall, sort of shambling humanoid figure. Rather more of a psychological aspect, potentially, to that one. The Skunk Ape, yes, Paul, in the Deep South. Legend of Boggy Creek, of course. Let's start a poll on here. Have you seen? Don't do it all in caps. That's terribly rude, isn't it? Have you seen Legend of Boggy Creek? And if not, why? Creek. I'd like to know why. Yes, no, add an option. What? There you go. For the indecisive among you. There it is. There's the poll. Have you seen the Legend of Boggy Creek? Because that's essentially well, skunk ape-ish, isn't it? In America, there are so many variations, let's say, and it seems the further north you get, the larger they get, and the further south you go, the smaller these things become. And there is a law of nature that supports that the further north you get, that animals get bigger and sort of chunkier. The rock apes of Vietnam fastens, yes, that's right. All sorts of stuff. Tony says, hello Tony, Michigan dogman video footage of creature on all fours attacking someone. I do not have a clue about that. If you can email a link to that, the email address is on the screen, it's scrolling along there. If you can email a link to that, I would like to see it. I certainly would like to see it. I don't know what that one is, I have to say. Rex as elusive as the Yowie itself. Yes, he was, as it turned out. It was quite disappointing, really. Jamie, the sequel is terrible. It is. However, it's good terrible, you know. And the first one's pretty bad, but it's good bad, you know. It's good bad. And it's really up there with, if you're into the Bigfoot thing, you've got to watch The Legend of Boggy Creek. It has to be done. I tell you what I did watch. Oh gosh, what's his name? The guy out of Police Academy who just shouts all the time. Bobcat Goldthwait, I think is his name. He produced or directed a Bigfoot film, right? Now, there have been hundreds of schlocky slasher film type, you know, blood and guts films about Bigfoot, thousands of them. And I don't do gory films. It's not my cup of tea, everybody, to be frank. But I thought I'll give Bobcat Goldthwait a chance because I know him. I don't know him, but I know who he is, so he might bring something to it. He didn't. That's my assessment. He didn't. It was a terrible film. A terrible film, actually. It was, you didn't see any Bigfoots, you heard them, and then we watched two people in a tent for about 30 minutes reacting to whistles and noises in the woods. I hated it. I hated it. Bigfoot and the Hendersons, of course. That was a good one. You've got to love that one. At the age I was when that came out, that was amazing. It really was. But you know, I don't know if there's really a good Bigfoot or Sasquatch film, to be honest. There was a Peter Cushing film, wasn't there, about with the Yeti in it, and I will always remember the Yeti. You actually see the Yeti on screen, but back in the day, you see, back in those days, if you had a monster film, right, you saw the monster near the end. You saw the monster near the end of it. Because you built up and built up and built up, and the tension ramped up, and you're thinking, what is this creature? You'd see a footprint, you'd hear a noise, you'd see a shadow, you'd see eventually its face. And that was one of the ones that really sticks in my mind. That I'm sure it was Peter Cushing in that film. Paul says, what do I make of the Sierra Sounds? Goodness me. So this is also known as the Samurai Chatter, right? This is Ron Moorhead and another chap, I believe, who were in the forest somewhere in the Sierras, hence the name Sierra Sounds, and recorded what sounds like a conversation. It sounds like a... Let me just look at this poll. 71% of you have not seen the legend of Boggy Creek. Well, when this finishes at 11 o'clock, try and find it. See if you can find it. You can probably rent it on YouTube for about $5 or something. Get standard definition, you might get it for £3. Honestly, it's bad, but it's good. Okay, it's not violent, it's not gory, there's no blood and guts in it. It's just a tale about Bigfoot, skunk ape essentially, terrorizing a family. But it's based on a true story, is the thing. The Crabtree family. And Travis Crabtree in particular got a very good look at this thing when it seemed very interested in him at one point in time, and he shot it in the face with a squirrel shot, whatever that is. I assume it's very small ball bearings or something. What's the chap? What's his father's name? Smokey Crabtree, the father, wrote books about this and all sorts. Good Lord, it's the lore of Boggy Creek is immense, and it's wonderful to get engrossed in. I would very much recommend it. But back to your what was it I was yammering on about? Somebody asked me my opinion. Oh yes, the Sierra Sounds. So yes, I'm going to find those during the break for you, and we're going to play them, and then I would like people to phone up and tell me what they think of them. In fact, I'd like people to phone up and we'll listen to them together on the phone, and then we can talk about them. That's what we're going to do. So I will give my opinion on those a bit later. That's a very good idea. That's what we'll do. YouTube show is only a part of the vault. Beyond the broadcast is the archive. And at eeriesvault.com you'll find our growing library of case files, first-hand accounts of the unexplained, written reports from people who lived through something strange. And we need yours. If you've carried a story for years, if you've never had the chance to put it into words, and this is where it belongs, your report will stand alongside others, building a record that may one day help us see patterns that we cannot see alone. And it's easy. Go to eeriesvault.com, open the Case Files page, and hit the Submit a Case button. Fill in the details and send it on its way. Because strange events pass quickly into silence unless someone records them. Don't let your story vanish. Put it in the vault. From the depths of the vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live. Every Friday at 9 p.m. GMT, the lines are open. UFOs, aliens, ghosts, strange creatures, time slips, encounters you cannot explain. If you've seen something unusual, if something has haunted you, followed you, or simply left you wondering, then this is your place to tell it. Call in and share your story. You can watch the show live on YouTube or stream it directly at eeriesvault.com. And if you're too shy to call, then you can email ahead of the show at eeriesvault@gmail.com, and I will read your story out for you on air. That's Eerie's Vault Live, Friday nights, 9 p.m. GMT. Be part of it. For those of you who want to go deeper, there is the Eerie's Vault Patreon. Here you'll find the evidence. Original newspaper clippings, forgotten publications, rare documents. You'll see the raw material behind the stories, and you'll gain access to exclusive videos, some filmed on location at the very places we discuss, and you'll be able to watch private follow-up videos to the cases already covered on the main channel. It's not just about watching here, it's about joining the search, and by supporting the vault, you help to keep the archive alive, help uncover more material, and help to bring these stories into the light. And if you've ever wondered what all these marks are on this map here, well, patrons get access to this interactive encounters map to peruse at their leisure. It gets updated regularly and will grow to be one of the most comprehensive encounters maps in the world. If you've ever wanted to be closer to the investigation, if you've ever wanted to see what lies behind the curtain, then Patreon is where it begins. And with numerous membership options, what are you waiting for? Head over to the vault. Got an encounter story that you want to share? Ever seen a UFO or a ghost? Are you a time traveler or a non-human humanoid? Or maybe you've just got an opinion about a known encounter that you would like to share. Whichever it may be, simply send a WhatsApp message to 07903 775 899 to enter the callback queue. That's 07903 775 899. Just give me a brief outline of what you want to say and a name that you'd like me to use on air, and then stay ready for my callback. Or if you're more on the shy side, you can still take part by emailing eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story, and I will read it on air for you. And we're back. I've got a call coming in right now to take part in tonight's show. Good evening, you're on Eerie's Vault Live.
Hello, Eerie. How are you doing today?
Hello, Fleur. I'm not bad. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I've just finished up some chores that I had to do.
Oh, very good. It's always good to get those out of the way. So, Bigfoot, Fleur, what's it all about?
Well, to be fair, we've had so many instances of Bigfoot in the world that it's very hard to track down what species of Bigfoot we have. Some of them seem to be like a reddish kind of colour. Others seem to be a kind of like a gorilla walking around, from what I can understand. But people have found hair, they found footprints, they've obviously the old camera footage of one just walking around, swinging his arms, looking at everyone. I've seen those ones. But in my opinion, I do think somewhere in the world there will be evidence of Bigfoot. I mean, we haven't explored the entire Amazon basin or the Amazon jungle. There's going to be some type of Yeti or Bigfoot, whatever we want to call them, out there somewhere. I mean, wasn't there Yetis as well? Aren't Yetis like Bigfoots as well?
Supposedly, yeah. A similar sort of creature. Let's listen to these. So, are you aware of what the Sierra Sounds are?
I've never heard of them, no.
Okay, I'm going to play the Sierra Sounds for you. Now, I'll say to other callers as well that if you want to join in chatting to me and Fleur about what you're going to hear, then the WhatsApp line is available. Okay. You know, I keep trying to try this multiple call setup every week. Right, here's the Sierra Sounds. Now, let's see if you can hear these. Chat, just let me know if it's loud or quiet or whichever.
I'm going to have to play it on the tablet. Let's see.
Oh, yes, you'll have to play it on yours, Fleur, yeah.
I'm going to have to play it on the tablet. Let's see. That sounds like a lot of thumping and banging kind of sounds, like a very high-pitched vocal pitch.
It does.
That sounds very, I'm trying to think, there is an animal that does sound like that, but I've forgotten what it's called.
Well, what I'll say is some of this is a guy called Ron Moorhead who is calling to the source of the sounds, let's say, and some of it is the source of the sounds calling back to him. So the part that sounds like sort of like that is Ron calling. So that's a human. But he gets a response if you just listen to... So can you hear the further away? Let me just do that again.
Yes. Yeah, whatever it was responding to that.
In the distance, it's responding to it. Yeah, yeah. It's very. Now, there's more to this, but I think that when I'm playing it and you're listening to it, it's kind of feeding back as well for people. So I'll play the rest of it after the call. But essentially, it's a call and response, and it develops into what sounds like an argument between a male and a female Sasquatch in the end.
You know, I would not be surprised. Yeah. I literally would not be surprised that there would be some kind of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti out there that does. I know that have you ever heard that there was some kind of Sasquatch / Yeti on a military base once?
Oh, whereabouts was that?
It's one of I know it's in America, it's on one of those. I know it was in like a Vietnam, it was a Vietnam era base.
Okay.
It was very busy during Vietnam. I forgot what its name is.
It rings a bell, to be honest. It does ring a bell.
It rings a bell, and in one of the car lots, security guards kept seeing things moving around. They kept hearing feet walking around when there's nobody there. And they described what looked like a Sasquatch creature was around. So could it be that they are around military bases because they want to know what's going on? Are they intelligent enough to know, hey, this is fighting, could encroach on my territory kind of thing? Maybe.
Yeah, I would imagine something like that would be quite territorial. However, their uncanny ability to evade us seems to be at odds with that same inquisitive nature of that case, which suggests that, and quite logically so, there are different personalities between them.
I can agree with that because everybody's sort of different. And with them living as well, different areas around the world, probably different personalities, different accents, etc.
Yeah. Speaking of accents, I'm looking at the chat here. Yeah, there's some disputing about mine happening.
Yeah, you will never know the secret Eerie accent.
It is the greatest secret of the universe.
But as far as Yetis a concern and such, again, I do think because we haven't explored all of the Earth yet, I still think there are probably Yetis or apes, etc., that we just haven't seen. I mean, as an example, I don't know how true this is, but under the Paris catacombs, there was supposed to have been a prehistoric dinosaur that they found, is it pterodactyl?
Ooh, hold the phone. Hold the phone. That I like the sound of. What's that? Let me just listen to that's the clicking pen again. That's getting written down as well. Paris catacombs dinosaur. Yeah. Goodness.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a pterodactyl, supposedly. They found, well, again, it's only just a story, but apparently found a pterodactyl. It was encased in stone. It came out of the stone. It breathed its last breath and then passed.
What? Gosh. That needs to be researched. I love that.
You would be surprised because I've been to Paris, and one of the trips that you could go on was to the Paris catacombs, and I was all like, I'd love to go down there. Everybody else was like, no, we're cruising on the Champs-Élysées. I was kind of pushed out.
I think.
But then again, you could always research about the Paris catacombs because they're supposedly haunted too. So
I would not be at all surprised. You know, I recall it must be some time in the early 2000s. There was a show on television. Now, it wasn't Animal X, but it was one like that, and I'm quite certain they did a segment in the Paris catacombs where some supposed found footage, showed a guy dropped his camera and he'd become lost in the catacombs. He dropped his video camera and a cloven hoof just stood on the ground, like a leg with a cloven hoof appeared in frame, and then it walked off. I'm pretty sure. God, that's a long time ago. It might have even been Animal X, to be fair.
Yeah, it's, again, things like that, it doesn't surprise me because, to be honest, I'm not frightened of, remains. They don't bother me as much because at least most of the family are in the opinion of, it's not the dead that can harm you, it's the living that can harm you.
Well, of course, yeah.
But it's that I've heard a lot of stories and I was so intrigued just to go down, but no, I had to cruise the River Seine. I had to go on a cruise in the River Seine. I didn't get to go see no catacombs.
Well, maybe just as well, because goodness knows what's down there,
Yeah, it's again quite fascinating when you actually look into these things. Obviously I know about the dinosaur, the supposed pterodactyl that was in the catacombs. I didn't know about the cloven hoof in the catacombs.
Oh, yes. And Farson's Finest is sort of thinks he remembers this video as well. So maybe we'll find it, Voltsketeers. Maybe we can find it. But yes, a pterodactyl.
You know what?
Gosh.
Yeah, I could have sworn it was something like a pterodactyl. They said it was a pterodactyl. I think it was something like a pterodactyl. I know it was some kind of dinosaur. I've got a vague recollection that it was a pterodactyl.
You'd think the last type of dinosaur to be underground in a narrow corridor would be a flying one.
Yeah, because it would probably have hung by its feet upside down like a bat to fall asleep, I suppose.
Oh, do you think they did? Oh, my God, that makes them worse. That makes them scarier.
Yeah, it's like you'd think maybe with it being dark underground, it would be like, how bats sleep and they hold by their little toes?
Yeah.
That they'd be like, they all just like be like a bat. They sleep during the day and they come out during night.
Oh,
maybe
I
that's
never
why they
thought
don't see
of that.
them much.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Oh, my God. Yeah, and those big leathery wings.
Yeah, big leathery wings, and that's why people probably wouldn't see them during the day when they're walking around because they're asleep at night.
Oh, gosh, imagine they could be everywhere.
I wonder the Paris city's eating everybody's croissants and everything.
Goodness me.
But saying that, Paris itself is a pretty... I've heard one or two stories about ghosts in Paris. That's... I've heard a couple of stories to do with that. It might be worth a look.
Oh, yeah.
You could do a whole one about the catacombs and one just about Paris in general.
Yes, I imagine. Haunted Paris. I imagine because it's, oh gosh, I imagine all sorts. I was reading today, I was actually doing some research today, and there was a French UFO case that I've never heard of before, where the witness saw a landed craft, and I know I've done a lot of UFO stuff lately. I will do other things, but they saw a landed craft with what they described as hideous dwarves in diving gear.
Now that's unusual. You don't usually see UFOs, and I know obviously we hear at the little green men and full grey men and etc. You don't hear about that very often.
You don't. There were a couple on, the Kojak-headed entities was one, which was a UK case in which the small aliens had what appeared to be diving gear on. But they're usually described as they're not usually described as hideous dwarves. I mean, it was very specific.
Yeah, it's quite odd when you do look at it and you look into the history of UFOs and such. You don't hear them being dwarves. I mean, when I think of dwarves, I just think of the little Woolerton gnomes.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. There was another one as well that was quite unusual, where there was a small... I know that there was the little fairies, the little fairies with those two girls.
Oh, the Cottingley fairies.
I think the Cottingley fairies as well. I'm trying to think what else there was in France, and obviously the two. Sorry if I'm thinking about France. Then there was the the Paris of Versailles, didn't two ladies, I think you might have covered it before, they went to Versailles and they stepped back into time and they believe they saw Marie Antoinette. And my
really?
Sister, yeah, that's another one. My sister used to have a book written by the very lady that actually witnessed it. This is years and years ago. This is like the Victorian era, beginning like the end of Queen Victoria's reign. But apparently a lady and her friend stepped back in time in Versailles. They apparently stepped back in time. Everything had changed. The gardens had changed. And when they came back, they couldn't find what this was. So everybody claimed that it was a time skip. And until these ladies' deaths, they claimed we stepped back in time in Versailles.
Wow.
So it's always worth to have a look.
Yes, and I have been sort of straying into other countries' cases. I think the video from today was a Puerto Rico case, and because there's so many interesting ones, there really are.
Oh yeah, the chupacabra.
Oh my God! Yeah, Mothman. Yeah.
I have to. It's a bit crude, but a friend of, my former brother-in-law, a friend of his used to be called Mothman, and we always go, "Why is he called Mothman?" Well,
did he love light bulbs or something?
Whenever he saw a nightclub, he used to gravitate towards. You could see the stuff. We used to call him Mothman because he would be like very attracted to bars and clubs and stuff.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
So he used to joke about, the Mothman and such. It's like a lot of really weird things do happen across the world that we don't realise.
Oh, they do. They do. You've reminded me of a Norm Macdonald joke there about there's a moth that goes to the psychiatrist. This moth, he goes to see the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist sort of thinks, "Oh my goodness, a moth! This is unusual for me." And he prepares the desk and prepares the couch for the moth to lay down on, and the moth's flitting around, and then eventually he says to the moth, "So, Mr. Moth, tell me why are you here?" And the moth says, "Well, the light was on."
That's a good one, actually. The light was on.
I'm glad you laughed at that. I didn't know if it was going the right way, but yes, yeah, I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Oh
dear.
Oh dear. Fleur, we're going to listen. We're going to listen to the Sierra sounds now. On the thing. So I'm going to hang you up, but you can call back if you want. But I'm going to hang you up, and we're going to play these Sierra sounds. We're going to get everybody's take on what this is. All right, let's go for it. Thank you, Fleur.
No problem, Eerie. Take care.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Right, let's listen to the Sierra sounds then. And you tell me. Now, so, in this, there is Ron Moorhead, and he's calling to something in the distance, and the something in the distance appears to be responding. This is a few minutes. I'm going to skip to the middle there. Let me know if that's outrageously loud or if it's all right. Now, Sasquatch Chronicles used that on their intro, I think. Now that's Ron, and that's the response. So that little section there, the closer sounding sound is the human, and then the further away one is the responding, let's say, creature. Oops, I've got several things happening. Let me pause that. Let's pause that and let's take this call. You're on Eerie's Vault Live. Good evening.
Hi there. So, I remember I called in last week, and I just wanted to extrapolate on some other things about that area that I used to live in.
Oh, yes, yes. Was it Genesee Valley, was it?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So, if you don't mind, I mean, I'd like to talk about how I used to go on the trails next to the dam itself by the river, and there's a huge dam complex. I mean, well, without stressing the word, it's a damn huge complex. But there's also a park that's stationed around it on either side of the river where people can go and walk around, whatever, and there's lots of trails and wildlife. One of these times when I was walking around with my pup, and I actually found a footprint in the ground on the trail, well, next to the trail,
Okay.
that was a ginormous footprint, and it's so out of place. It was beyond
Human-shaped?
imagination. Yeah, it looked like a Sasquatch footprint.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, this is good.
And it was so weird. Like, it wasn't like somebody had made it on purpose. It was just there. Like, in a weird spot. It's just odd. And, well, I took a picture of it, and I had my foot and my dog's foot in the same shot as for comparison. And I tell you, this thing was like, it was like 16 inches tall, like long or whatever. Like, I don't know how you, well, in metrics, I guess it would be like the size of like maybe a football and a half.
Okay. Yeah.
It was pretty bad. And so that was there, and well, there in the same area there was like a lot of like little wildlife preserves where they have the grassland preserve where there was like butterflies everywhere and they land on your finger and stuff like that. It's really cool. It was a fun wild area, and in the valley itself, like in the river valley, it was kind of like a gully, really, leading up to the dam. It would look like there was like the trees that were down there, they looked like shrubs from up top. But when
Okay.
you actually snuck down there, they were like really big.
Oh, I see.
They
The
were,
distance. Yeah.
yeah, there was like rattlesnakes and everything down there.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
and I was one time I went down there, I decided like this is a little too much for me, and I went footing around everywhere, and that was a little much. But anyway, so going back to like, this is right next to Mount Morris, so I used to talk about the Genesee Valley. So, and I skipped around with the well, basically, I ended up living in another. Well, it was actually a mortuary. It used to be a funeral home, and it was in the middle of town, and it was very haunted. When I first moved there, I was pretty skeptical, and I'd seen everything. Like I was, I was punk rock about it. Like
I think
whatever,
you'd have to be skeptical to go and live in
yeah,
an old funeral home.
I had my chops up, or I had my dukes up, right, and I was ready for anything. But I was sure as shit, I was seeing like little black balls flying around inside of the house, and it was not like a bug or anything like that. They were zipping through the walls at a high rate of speed, and sometimes they'd stop in front of you and then they'd just take off again. And but yeah, it was definitely an old mortuary. And well, what ended up happening was the roof like caved in completely because of a water damage or whatever.
Oh.
And there was black mold everywhere. It was so bad. But we stuck it out to the end. And well, yeah, like I said, the place is horribly haunted. And basically, my wife was seeing herself at night from like a doppelganger. Like, you want to talk about that? Like, oh my God.
She was seeing herself.
Yeah, she would have these lucid dreams where herself would come up and start poking her with a finger and stuff like that. Oh my God, that's the most horrifying thing I can imagine. And I validate it because I would come home from work, and I was working concrete, and I would have to take a long shower, and I would go into the shower and wash up, and then I would hear my wife's voice, like in the same room as me, in the shower room, like in the bathroom. It was a small room.
And she just wasn't there.
No way at all. She was like, even like, not even close. And Yeah, and then she said that she had the same thing with where she was in the shower. She'd hear my voice. So it's just one of those odd things. It was kind of funny.
So
I never really got.
that's some sort of mimicry then, isn't it? Rather than outright doppelganger, that's something mimicking you both.
Yeah, who knows what these spirits are up to in their pastimes or whatever. I mean, you got to have a hobby.
These pesky
like
spirits.
Long time dead. Just messing with people's heads or whatever.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I mean, it was a wet place. Like that was like it was very dank and it was dark. And, we lived in a basement basically. That was an old mortuary, and I happenstance ended up moving into another mortuary or an old funeral home. That's where I currently reside. That's outside of Mount Morris. It's the next town over or two. And I only figured that out later on because one night I had a pet rat, and we had this old dollhouse that he would push the buttons on, like the musical. It would make like the song.
Oh yeah.
Like, hey, and it was like one of these nights the rat was up in this hammock. He was sleeping, and the little dollhouse was put up. Everything was fine, and I'm just passing out, and I hear the dollhouse start to go off on its own. Like, oh, here we go again. And I hadn't really had a lot of experiences here in this particular location, except for that started to happen, and it was like, oh my God. I had to get up early in the morning, so I was like, can that just not happen? I'm gonna pretend like that didn't happen. I just would rather this not happen.
Yeah, I was quite sure.
But I ended up learning very subsequent to this event that actually, because there's like a little garden next to my house. I mean, for the United States, I live in an old home that's I don't know how it is in the UK. I'm pretty sure you guys have old buildings around you.
Oh yeah.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
But for United States, like this place is pretty old. It's older than a lot of states are, and it actually was a bona fide funeral home, and I only found it out because there was a picture of it right next to this fountain, little garden that they had set up in the next to my district, and I wish I could upload it somehow. Do you have like a Discord or something?
You can send it by email, and I can sort of pop it on the website eeriesvault.com. Yeah, we can do that.
It's funny because I can send you a picture of how my house looks today and how it used to look hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
And it's exactly the same, other than it used to have a sign above my door that said town funeral home.
And I assume the guests are no longer there either.
I hope not. But anyway, there's also the graveyard outside of town has I'm gonna send you a picture if I can find it. If I can send your email. So there's a funny picture of the graveyard where there's a couple of big tall gravestones, and one of the first one says tall. Or long. No, actually it says long, and the next one right behind it says short. It's like, what the hell? You can't make this stuff up. No. It's so funny. But I'll try to send that to your email.
Yes, do. Yeah, it's scrolling across the screen, or it often is. Let's jump to that screen. There we go. So email address will be on screen in a second.
All right, I'll jot that one down.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed talking to you. I love your channel.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always good to get callers from, it's good to get callers from anywhere, but you feel a bit special when you get someone from out of the country, I have to say.
Right on.
Yeah.
Hey, next time I'll talk about the Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester.
Yeah.
350,000 graves there.
Goodness.
And there's plenty of haunted experiences that we've had. And I'll talk about the monument to the damned.
Sure. I feel like you'll be a source of good stories for us. Thank you ever so much.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Thanks
Great.
for staying alive and doing what you do.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
And look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Bye.
Living in a old funeral home, in the basement thereof, that's a braver man than I, let me tell you. It's a braver man than I, I have to say. So, and finding footprints, Sasquatch footprints in the same area. Now, I'm going to kill the lines for a minute because I don't know how to stop it ringing when something else is happening, you see. I'm going to kill the lines, and we're going to now, let's just go back to Ron and the Squitch Squatch. Now this next bit, that's the whooping, right? You could think, yeah, howl a monkey or some sort of monkey or whatever. Okay. But this next section.
There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks. It's a hard act to follow.
It sounds like he talks to us and they talk to each other.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Right there, I just seen movement right through there.
Now, I don't think they laid eyes on a culprit. I don't think they laid eyes on a creature. But, yes, listen again. And I'm sorry, it's very noisy recording. It's almost as noisy as some of my early videos.
It's a hard act to follow.
It sounds like he talks to us and they talk to each other.
Yeah. Right there, I just seen movement right through there.
Now, there is more than that, where the two beings, let's say, and Paul says here he's been down the pub again. It does sound like eventually, I'm struggling to find it actually, it does sound like they are having an argument. I think this is a part one. What's this, part two here? Oh my God, right, this is it. Here we go. how odd. How odd is that? Yes, it sounds like Taz of Tasmania. It does a bit. Now, there have been studies done on these sounds, some of which say they are fake, human, some of which say that there is no way that the human apparatus for speech can create some of those sounds. And when we talk about sounds, we don't only talk about the sort of timbre of the sound or the feeling of a sound. We talk about the volume of the sound, the strength of the sound. We talk about the physical location in the larynx or such apparatus that the sound is emanating from. We talk about lung capacity in order to create the sound. We talk about infrasound as well. So, yes, a human could go like that. Okay, a human can do that. But there were some studies that said, well, a human cannot do that exact same deep bellowing sound. And, you know, it sounds like these two creatures are having an argument to me. But, yes, what the hell is it? Says Mr. X. So that is the Sierra sounds. Now, I was asked for my opinion on these some time ago, probably just before the break, actually. And it is this. It could be anything. That's my opinion. And I know that's probably a anticlimactic opinion to have. But because there was no visual, and let's face it, if there had been a visual and it hadn't been recorded, then so what? It's just somebody's word. But assuming it's not humans. Now, that, you know, it could quite easily be. I always used to laugh at Finding Bigfoot, you know, where they're in the woods howling. And they get a howl in response, and it's probably just another team of squatchers somewhere howling back at them. But assuming it's not humans, and it doesn't sound human, does it? It doesn't sound human. So assuming it isn't humans, then what we can say is that something is certainly responding to and mimicking the calls that Ron Moorhead is doing, and then is becoming agitated. And you can hear the other chap's name is Al Berry. You can hear him in the middle of this when the thing starts growling. In the middle of that section, you'll hear him say that this isn't good or something like that. You hear him then. That's not right, or something he says, and goodness me, I would not, and that sounds close. Now, you've got to think, this is the 1970s, okay? This is the 70s, and it's I'm sure it's like a little tape recorder that they used to take along for field journal. I think they were out there looking for Sasquatch. I think that was their purpose. I might be wrong on that. You'll have to correct me if I am. But it's a little 70s, you know, consumer grade tape recorder. There's a hell of a lot of hiss. And Ron sounds very close. And initially, the respondent sounds far away, but then they get closer and closer, and they sound pretty pretty damn close during this exchange. Gosh. Now, that does sound a little like me in Cyprus the other week when I got the TGI's food poisoning. So there you are, that's the Sierra sounds, absolutely open to interpretation. If you want to call in, you've got 15 minutes, let's chat about the sounds, let's talk about them together. I think fascinating, certainly. And the more you hear them, now there's an episode of the Art Bell show, who, I assume there are many Art Bell fans here. But there's a recording of the Art Bell show where Ron speaks to Art, and there is a linguist expert on the same call who really goes to town on explaining the formants and the phoneme structures and all of those linguistic things that we, or certainly I, as a non-expert, would take for granted, I'll try and find it and stick it up on the Patreon or something, if I can find it. But certainly, it's a very interesting study, because mostly you just hear the whoops and the howls, and whistles is another thing, isn't it? But that, the Sierra sounds. Yes. Ron says, I worked seismic exploration in northern Alberta and British Columbia. You did, and Saskatchewan for 6 years in my early 20s, 200 kilometres from the nearest house or store. Sometimes helicopters used to take us around. Did you have any weird experiences, Ron? I imagine that is pretty isolated country, isn't it? Certainly. Now, Anne says Bigfoots are interdimensional beings. And that's another thing that gets thrown around, certainly is, that the Sasquatch can pop in and out of this world and dimension, as it were. Some refer to it as cloaking, I think. And who knows is the thing. Who knows? Fairson says the best Art Bell call was the bloke who got abducted, and Art's radio station lost contact with the satellite. I don't know if I know that one. There was the Area 51 guy, wasn't there, who was on the run all the time. There was Mel's Hole, which was very good. And there was the Madman Markham stuff as well. And it's no secret, obviously, that Art Bell's a bit of an influence on, this show. And really that's why I styled this as a talk radio show rather than a video stream. I wanted to sort of recreate, in my own humble way, that sort of Art Bell vibe, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm sure you do, otherwise you wouldn't all still be here, would you? Yes. Sasquatch will not harm you if you leave their territory, says Jamie, but as I've said, they seem to know if we are in distress and can help us. Now, that's just twigged in my memory another great call on Art Bell, which was Bugs, who apparently shot and buried 2 Bigfoot and left Art a map to where they were buried. And I think Art said he lost the map in a house move. Oh, yes, Farsons, yes, I remember it. The call ended up on a Tool album, did it? Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. I'm sure as we progress, we'll have epic calls. Yours was pretty epic anyway, Farsons, with the blooming anteater monster thing. That was a good one, I have to say. They've all been good. All the calls have been really good so far. Yeah, the Area 51 one was really good. We don't have an Area 51 in England, do we, really? To go mad about like that. We're in the last 10 minutes. Don't forget, here's how to do it. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your #1 stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. That's right, and if you've got something you want to say, something you want to tell us, if you've got an opinion about those Sierra sounds, or about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or anything, aliens, ghosts, monsters, whatever it might be, you've got 10 minutes to give us a call and have a chat. In the meantime, we'll head over to the emails, of which I have several here. I'm going to start with one from, this is a big one, from John. Oh, I've been interrupted. That's good. It's a good interruption. Good evening. You are on Eerie's Vault Live. Yes. Of course, yes. I'm very interested to hear other people's take on these.
Asian accent to it. I'm listening and I'm going, that sounds a lot like an Asian accent.
Oh, now, sorry, I pressed the wrong button there and nobody could hear you. So Fleur's mentioning that the Sierra sounds, that the two distinct individuals seem to have distinct accents, let's say. And I agree with you that the one that sounds female, let's say, the vowels seem to be more open and more extended, whereas the one that we'll call the male, seem to be rather more clipped and faster somehow.
Yeah, they do sound clipped and faster, but I've noticed that at the beginning, at first, the males sounded very laid back, almost like a lazy kind of accent.
Yeah.
And then it would go on to a more aggressive, kind of fast-paced kind of accent. And it sounded like different dialects as well. Like, I noticed at one point it had rather like an Asian-y type of accent. Like, as almost like, you know, when you go to Japan and it's and like an accent, it was almost though it was using different accents each time.
Yeah, it's referred to in some circles as the samurai chatter video. That's what people call it.
That's what I could hear. I could hear, like, I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, that sounds a lot like as though they have like an Asian accent.
Mm.
The male has an Asian accent, but the lady, well, I'll call the lady Scotch. She's lady Scotch now. But the lady Scotch kind of sounds like she's European or she's American. That's what I was hearing. So she sounds a bit more European than what he does.
Yeah. And
is it? I mean, could it be possible that that Sasquatches many years ago came over when the ice flows were changing, and they had little baby Sasquatches, and these are just Sasquatches from many, many years ago? Like, he was from Asia, she was from Europe. Could it be that?
Well, you know, it's a theory, isn't it? That perhaps, you know, certain individuals, certain individuals might have, but even in America, you know, as in England. I mean, in England, you can walk. I mean, my accent aside, of course, but you can drive 15 minutes away and you can be in a different accent area. And the same in America. You can drive a short distance and the accents change. And, you know, either that or there are more than two individuals there.
Yeah, I think at one point there was. I could hear like as though there was different ones. One was older, one was younger, one was a male, but it was a bit young, and then there was the female. I can hear three or four different.
You can.
Voices.
That's interesting because I
could hear 3 and 4. One was the adult. One was like an adult, as though I described it as an adult male. Then one was a youngish male. It was a very laid-back kind of accent. It was almost like a very laid-back kind of, you know, youngish kind of accent. Then there was one that sounded like it was it was much older than the other three.
The more growly one.
More growly. But it sounded like it was a bit more older, you know, a bit more... How could I say this? It sounded as though it knew a bit more than what the others were. And then the female came on and she was a bit more quieter. That's, to me, I think there was 4. Because I picked up 4 different vocals that were distinctly different.
Do you know, I've never even given thought to the possibility that there might have been more than 2 before.
Because it's just to me, I'm listening to it and I'm going, well, that sounds different. They all sound different. And then I'm picking up old, then I'm picking up a young one, then I'm picking up the female's the one I'm a bit confused on because it doesn't sound old, but it doesn't sound young at the same time.
Sounds different, doesn't it, to the others? That's very intriguing. Yes, apparently, now I've just missed... Now, Paul Williams has said, yes, it sounded a bit like Japanese, yeah, and I do speak a bit of Japanese, and it's all... So the kana or the sound set is all vowels with a consonant behind them. There's very few closed like an N or a M. You know, it's all kaki kukeko tati chucheto, all that sort of stuff. Sasi suseso, and when you string them together, it's that machine gun. You know, atatakata no katakamata. You know, it sounds like that.
As though they do have like a very distinctive like way of talking. It sounds like it does actually sound very Japanese to me. As I was listening, I'm like, I don't know. but I can hear 4 distinct creatures. I can hear 4 different
Well,
ones.
that's very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting.
But again, I'll leave you with that area because it's just, I'm like, I can hear 4, not 2. That's just my opinion, and anybody can say, oh, well, you're being silly. I can only hear 2. I can hear 4.
Yes, let's get everybody else's opinion on that, shall we? Yes, great
I
stuff.
can hear 4.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Fleur. That's excellent.
No problem. Thank you, Eeries. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You too. Goodbye.
Oh, bye.
Yes, Jan, you're quite right. The only sort of close consonant is the n sound, the n or n at the end of in words like ganbatte and konnichiwa, in fact. So, yes, you're quite right. Is that Celia Imrie? I've lost the chat. I've lost the chat now. But yes, so that was our Bigfoot episode, wasn't it? That was our Sierra Sounds episode. How wonderful. I'm not sure if that's a real recording or not. If it is, it's not human. And those guys have got more cojones than I have for staying there whilst that thing was growling and screeching at them in the forest. Certainly. Ladies and gents, thank you very much again for a lovely evening. And I'll see you. Will I see you next week? Let me check my... Yes, I will. I will see you, or you will hear me next week. Good night.